This is probably a bad idea because I don't know how to write scripts, but neither did the people who wrote the Percy Jackson movies. Evidence of my lack of script writing knowledge can be found when I write black screen as the first line to show that the movie starts off black. I figured there was probably some other much cleverer way of writing this, so I googled it, and people on Reddit told me that the way that you do this is you write over black, and then you do the thing that lets the person reading the script know that it is Percy doing a voiceover over the black. Next issue that I found with writing a screenplay with no knowledge of how to write one is I wasn't sure if it was incredibly cringy to do it as a voiceover because it was a book adaptation, but I wanted the audience to really get a feel for what Percy was thinking and how he was reacting to all sorts of things, so I decided to do it as a voiceover so you could hear his thoughts. I know that a lot of movies that are based off of book adaptations have their establishing shot with narration from the character and then don't use it again, but I thought that the thing that would make the most sense for this is to have Percy's inner dialogue coming over scenes, so that way you would get the feeling that you were inside of his head throughout the movie like you do when you read the books. I actually can't remember if the original Percy Jackson movies used narration over their establishing shot or not. I don't think they did because it was that weird, like, coming out of the water god thing. But you know, I've been thinking about the Percy Jackson movies like a lot lately, and they're not that bad if you don't have the knowledge of the book behind them to, like, see how bad they are in comparison. Like, maybe they're not the greatest movies, but I've heard that a lot of people who haven't read the books really enjoyed them. And I genuinely think that the actors who played the characters did a really good job. If they hadn't been aged up from the books, then they would have been, like, perfect for the characters. I mean, the second movie is a bit more debatable with the whole, like, one quest wonder thing that Percy would never really worry about. But then they threw in the iconic Luke line.
Don't walk on my roof.
They also made Annabeth blonde, so props to Sea of Monsters for doing some things well. Another movie that I used to hate a lot because I knew, like, the original base of it is Hercules, and I assume if you're here because you've read the Percy Jackson books, then you've also know a bit about Greek mythology and you know how inaccurate the Disney redo of Hercules is. But if you don't think of how inaccurate it is, and you just focus on, like, how funny Hades is and what a great villain he is, then, you know, it's not that bad. Actually, while I was writing the script, I listened to the soundtrack for the Hercules movie, and not just the songs, even though they're actually kind of good, but the orchestral part of the soundtrack is really, really well done. It's got, like, really great windpipes and things like that in it. The original Percy soundtrack is, like, a little bit weird when I've been going back and watching some clips from the movie. Like, it's very, very intense, and I don't actually think that it should be as intense as it is in a lot of the scenes. Like, in a lot of the fight scenes, it's a lot of the same soundtrack over and over again, and it gets annoying, repetitive, and unnecessary. She says after having just made an argument that the Percy Jackson movies weren't that bad. But I guess I wouldn't be writing a script for this movie if I didn't think that the last one was not good enough. But I mean, I'm not exactly doing this out of anger, because I think if I didn't think that these movies could, like, genuinely be so much better, then I wouldn't be trying to write a script with very, very, very limited knowledge of how to do it. The actual reason that I decided to start writing the script is because I went and I saw Endgame the other night, and I obviously cried during that movie, and I was thinking about how I didn't think there would be another last installment that would make me feel as many things as I felt while I was watching Endgame. But then I thought about it, and I realized that if somebody did the Percy Jackson movies the right way, then maybe you could feel all of those great emotions in the last movie.